Hey guys, welcome to the first in a four-part series of how to refurbish a previously weathered or attempted to weather gondola here. So first thing I did was previous here, you'll see in just a sec, is the top of this Atlas box dips down into the gondola to hold it in place. I took a sharp blade and cut that out actually here. Just so the load that we're going to make for this gondola will still fit in there and go in the box. So you don't really need that top part. This model is it's an Atlas Trainman model. And I think I've had it for over 10 years even at this point, and got it from Caboose Hobbies when they were down off Broadway in Denver. But I got it for under $10, which is impossible to beat, and it's not even a bad model out of the box with the metal wheels and everything. So just never really was completely satisfied with the weathering on this thing, so I think I'm just gonna strip it down and kind of restart here. Save some of it possibly because it's not all bad what's on there, but definitely remove like that graffiti decal attempt that I have on there and stuff. So I'm gonna take the hardware off and start on this thing. Alright, so now we have the couplers and trucks removed off, but I keep the coupler cover boxes and the truck screws back in place just so I don't lose them. Here's kind of a close-up view of what we're starting with here, and it's just too red, rust looking, and not very good, honestly. So yeah, we're going to start over. And I started here, I filled up a decent-sized plastic container I had with some warm water, soap, some Windex here, honestly. I'm just going to let this thing soak in there for a while. And yeah, hopefully that'll remove some of this old paint off pretty easily and give it a quick scrub afterwards. After about 30 or 45 minutes, I removed the model from the solution I had made and decided to scrub it down and see how much of that old paint I could get off. After some hard scrubbing, I was finally able to start to see the factory lettering again, and that kind of noxious red paint was getting removed off there. So I'm going to keep at it and see if I can get both sides done. After removing most of the paint from that car, I finally think I've got it to a point where it's time to move to the next step. So I'm going to start doing some body damage to this car. One thing I've always liked about gondolas is old beaten ones where they have holes of rust in them where you can see light through them even. So I'm going to try to replicate that here. Just using some T-pins and a lighter actually, because it's just plastic. So I'll just heat that up and kind of poke a few holes in random places on it and see how that goes. One thing I would mention is to probably do this in a well-ventilated area because you are melting plastic basically, so you'll see the smoke and fumes come up periodically while I'm doing this process. So this part and then the part with the soldering iron I use as well. Best to do in a decently ventilated area. I went outside on my balcony actually for this, so wasn't nearly as bad, and I didn't get fumigated by it. Just keep heating it up and yeah, just pressing it through the side of the body until I have what I think will be good enough for what I'm looking for. can only really do 1 or 2 holes before it cools down to the point where it will not go through the whole body. So you may have to repeat this step many times. This is after I finished with the T-pin poking through, and I've got some pretty nice looking holes, it looks like now. I'm going to take the soldering iron while it's heating up here and start making some dents and stuff along the top of it. So now that my soldering iron is hot enough here, I'm going to start just kind of working the plastic from the top. And the bit that I have on this soldering gun is an old one, so it kind of has a C shape to it, so it kind of works good for making gouges and stuff. And then on this car I also wanted to get the inside pretty good, so I did the inside and outside as well. Alright, so now I think I've gouged and dented this thing enough, really. So yeah, I melted quite a bit of plastic away. I made some decent gouges on the inside and outside. So it should come out pretty cool once I got like painting and weathering going on this thing, I'm hoping. And then, yeah, I got my rust holes and everything still, so it's kind of coming together here on the bodywork side of it. The other side of the car, the paint didn't fully come off. So I'm kind of making it like a really well-weathered, well-beaten side. So I put a lot of gouges in that, and there's really nothing left of the panels that came with it. So kind of the final step in my body work before I start painting and weathering this thing up is I like to add some kind of textures, honestly, for rust. I start with super glue, and this is just something I bought cheap from the dollar store, and some old flour. I've had this for a few years for snow and other projects as well. Excuse me. So I start by applying the super glue in kind of random areas and spacing. And there's no real correct way to do this, obviously. It's just kind of wherever you see fit, and you can always take it off later if you don't like the way it looks. So kind of lay some super glue down wherever I see fit. So once I have enough super glue down, I start to kind of just lay the flour on top of it. And it's super glue, so it'll stick pretty good to it. Yeah, just kind of feather it on top of it until most of my area is covered with the flour. It looks terrible now, but it'll create some nice textures for rust and all sorts of other good looking things here when we're done. So I'll just keep laying that on. And I think I have enough on the interior now where I can kind of dust it off. I kind of roll it around in there just to give a final good coating, and then empty what I can back into the container and try to save it. But I'll flip it over here and you can kind of see what started. It's kind of patchy, but yeah, each one of those little spots will eventually kind of be a rust spot with some nice texture here on it. So, and then just to make sure it's all secured down and give a little different variety, I also pat down most of the spots with my finger, and it'll kind of show you some exposed spots as well. So you can usually go back at this point and add some more flour or glue if you need to also. And just kind of keep working it until it looks all right. All right, and I think that's going to about do it for part one here. It's looking pretty good from what I can tell so far. Got definitely some nice textures and different things going on here, so it doesn't just look like a flat-bodied out-of-the-box car anymore. Kind of move it and show you down the side here what it started to look like. And remember, this still looks like a mess because we got white flour and super glue kind of everywhere. But in part two coming up here, we're going to start adding paint and yeah, making some rust and making this thing look all tattered and kind of destroyed like a scrap gondola or whatever it'd be used for. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.